Alright, sup everyone. So this video is different from what I usually post. This is like a community debate video in regards to the two rank modes, ranked TDM and ranked King of the Hill. So basically, I'm gonna ask you guys what mode you feel is better and why, and I'm also gonna discuss what mode I felt that was better personally. Which is not a surprise. It's TDM. I've always felt like ranked TDM was better than ranked KOTH, but later in the video I'll go in depth of the pros and cons of each mode and why I feel like ranked TDM is better. So personally, for me, I played ranked since season 1, since when the game came out. I played in every single season. I've gotten like every single rank reward. I've placed like pretty much top 100 in every single season. Like highest, I was first one time. I think it was like season 3 or 4. I can't remember. It was early on. I was like first a few times. Not long, just briefly. Cause I have a job, so I can't really grind. Like I couldn't really grind back then. Compared to others in terms of just being in the top of the leaderboards, but I was always top 100. Like I was usually from like 50 to 20. Like I was always in that range, and I always felt like that was pretty good for a person that doesn't really like spend like hours upon hours playing Uncharted, right? But like in terms of win-loss, I've always had like 88% or higher. And then towards the end, like I never dropped. So when like rank was active for both KOTH and TDM, I never dropped lower than like 92% win-loss ratio. So like I played with like two teams. I played with like Panic's team, and I played with like Harrison Creator, right? A lot. I played with Harrison Creator a lot more than anyone in the TDM days with us three. So we would pick up anyone that was on basically during the nights. So like Ice, if Ice was on, if Crazy was on, if Havoc was on, Halcyon Havoc, just anyone like during the TDM days. So basically, like I said before, I've always felt like ranked TDM was better for multiple reasons. But I'll discuss why TDM is better, but I'll look at the negatives first, right? So like the thing I didn't like about ranked TDM was like the map design, right? I felt like that worked against players most of the time, considering that TDM was a mode that typically promotes camping, right? It always depends on the team you face. Sometimes you face teams that constantly they're like run and gun, right? Like kind of like Uncharted 2 and 3, where like they see people, they get in a gunfight. They see another person, they get in a gunfight. Or you run into teams that like just camp, right? They would just camp like island, top island, horseshoe, light side, dark side, right? And just like camp there, or like what map? Like Scotland, they would stay like, I guess, if they want to control church for some reason, they stay there. If they want to stay in Pride Rock, they stay there, right? So like, yeah, I always felt like, given that the history of TDM, right, and how like sometimes it can be a camp fest. Some of the maps on Uncharted 4 really works against players, and for those that didn't really play Uncharted 2 and 3, like these maps are like completely different from Uncharted 2 and 3. It's like on Uncharted 4, a lot of these maps like allow players, they give the players the freedom to like to flank a lot, right? The maps are set up differently, where like you can control the flanks a lot better, right? They're kind of like the Last of Us maps, right? A little bit like you can see that the maps were like the source of inspiration came from TLU in terms of the map design. which, again, given that it's not an OBJ mode, it could work against players most of the time, which is a negative in my point of view. And then in terms of actually, like another negative for ranked TDM would be weapon balance, right? Like I said before, like you would run into players that are really skillful, teams that are really skillful, and it's shown through their foul skills, right? Like a lot of good players use foul, a lot of smart players use the HS. But then again, you run into in ranked TDM, you would run into a lot of like these kids that grind ranked all the time. They use metlers and they use copperhead spam, C4 spam, the cheesy teams, right? And there's a lot of cheesy teams out there, right? Or like they utilize mysticals in a way that just drives you insane, right? It's not skillful at all, right? It gets you the win, sure, but it relies on no skill whatsoever. Like Jin Condor and stuff, the combination of Jin Condor stuff like that, right? And we all know certain players in ranked TDM, they're known for certain things, right? For using certain things and for using certain guns. But I classify that to be a negative for ranked TDM. And then the ranked leaderboard changes, like the point system and stuff like that, they changed it. I think 2 times, 2 or 3 times. I think it's 2 times, but that's a negative. Like the old system was a lot better. But it's Naughty Dog. They change shit all the time, make stuff worse. But for positive, so that was like what 1, 2, 3, three things that are negative in my point of view. Map design, can sometimes work against players. Like Island is a clear example. That map, I know a lot of people said they love playing on that map, but that is not a balanced map whatsoever for TDM. Like if you control top, it's set. Like you can win, right? Like a good team would win like 75% of the time on Island just for camping up top, right? It's some of the maps are completely trash for TDM. Certain spam like Metler spam, copper spam, C4 spam, and then the rank leaderboard changes. So that's like a total of three negatives, right, for TDM in my point of view. But for positives, it's a lot more. It's like if we ignore the camping associated with TDM, for the most part, it was very skill reliant, like gun skill compared to KOTH, right? In terms of like if you ran like if you're running into good players that want to give you a fair head up, right? You can find that more often than not on TDM, right? Compared to KOTH. KOTH is like you just really need to hide. You need to hide most of the time, rotate properly, get to the hill first, hide again, cap the hill, hide again. It's like it's not really emphasis on gun skill on KOTH, right, compared to TDM. It had a lot of better players and teams playing in TDM days compared to KOTH. KOTH, there wasn't a lot of good teams playing. There was probably only like 3 good teams. Then the rest is just you're playing the same team over and over again, right? Like ragtag teams, ragtag meaning like, people, they're just inviting any person in the lobby, right? And then, there wasn't really a lot of set teams playing. I can only name like 4 or 5 set teams playing, but like that were good, but there wasn't a lot of good KOTH teams compared to ranked TDM. So yeah, like that's definitely a positive. A lot better teams, a lot better players playing on TDM. Made the game more fun. And then the grind was worth it because you can unlock stuff, right? Like the masks and the hats and stuff like that. Even though they made it available for everyone, I will still consider it like to be a positive when we used to play, right? Because it was fun unlocking some of the taunts and stuff like that were only exclusive to certain seasons, and But what else? So that's so the grind was worth it. It was fun playing for certain rank rewards during the time that allowed us to unlock new stuff, right, when the game came out. So that's I feel like that's a lot of strong positives for TDM. Basically, a lot better teams playing, right? That's a no-brainer. Like, it makes the game a lot more fun when you're playing against good players, good teams. I think that's the most important thing, right? And And yeah, it's a lot like it was very gun skill reliant compared to KOTH. Of course, I'm not saying that there wasn't any campers. I'm not saying that people didn't play cheesy, but you can get into like decent gunfights against decent players. Especially coming from Uncharted 3 and 2. I've always liked that in Uncharted where like I could get into like good gunfights, right? Especially back in the days. You're just you're doing like a 1v1 gunfight against someone, and then you're strafing your butt off, right? I've always liked that element of Uncharted. Even though it's kind of lost on this game, you can still find it, a lot more on TDM than KOTH. And I'm always gonna put like gun skills and all that above anything else. In terms of like rating, players and stuff like that. And so I feel like TDM has a lot of strong positives. And yeah, of course, the grind for specific stuff. All right, so moving on. For King of the Hill, I'll discuss the negatives. I feel like there's a lot more negatives in KOTH. For instance, the biggest issue was the mystical spam, which allowed inferior teams to win despite being being cheesy, right? I can't count how many times. Not It wasn't a lot, but because I played with good people and with good teams during the King of the Hill days. But there's matches I lost where like it's victory hill to victory hill, and we only lost because of mystical spam, right? Everyone throwing Indras, throwing Dorados, throwing using Shield of Asgard, right? I mean, someone needs to explain in the comment section for me how that is, like, how is that competitive? Like, it's not competitive at all, right? If you're just throwing like cheesy stuff that allows you to win. Like if it's remnants, for example, and you're in barrels, it doesn't matter what side of barrels, right? But let's just say like you're in the green barrel side, where the scaffolding is. Let's just say the hill spawns right there, right? And you Indra, the plunder cap side outside. You Indra that side, right? And then you Indra like the cave entrance side, right? And then you throw like a Dorado on both sides. You know what I mean? How are players even supposed to like contest the hill, right? You're not, like, the opposing team is not even shooting you. They just threw mysticals everywhere. That's damaging you. That's making you push back, right? And the opposing team doesn't even have to use their guns. You know what I mean? It's like it's completely anti-competitive whatsoever, and that single issue for me personally makes KOTH inferior to TDM, right? That's like the biggest issue for me. It's a lot of cheesy stuff in KOTH, largely in part because of Naughty Dog, but I'll get into the point though. Basically it's like Naughty Dog should have made certain things restricted on this mode, just like how comp has certain things restricted. So for those of you that haven't played competitive in Uncharted or don't really keep an eye on it, basically certain things are restricted, right, in certain modes, right? Like basically like for instance, like the biggest thing, it's like there's no sidekicks and there's no mysticals allowed in competitive, right? Those are the biggest things, right? Naughty Dog should have restricted certain things for KOTH, right? That would not allow players to like spam mysticals. Like they should have did like one Indra allowed, like one person or two people can use Indras on a team, right? Or like you for example, you eliminate Indras with extra time, right? Stuff like that. Like make certain things restricted so it doesn't allow people to spam cheesy stuff so they can get the win, right? Certain games like Call of Duty, they do the same thing, right? Where there's a rank mode and or there's a league play where like it's an emphasis on competitive competitive matchmaking, but they restrict certain things, right? Naughty Dog dropped the ball on that. Again, that ties into my biggest point, where it's just like the whole mode is just like anti-competitive, like 100%. It's anti-competitive, and that alone makes it inferior to TDM. But my second point, King of the Hill as a mode is broken, right? Um, Players shouldn't be allowed to gain points while being outside the hill, right? It makes no sense for people to gain points for being outside the hill, right? Because on like Remnants is the biggest example. Basically, like, there's sometimes it's hard to break a hill, right? Because everyone's outside the hill. They're outside of the hill. They're in like the cheesy spots, right? And then you try to, push for the hill, and you're getting like melted by a player camping in the corner, and then someone throws an injure at you. It's like it makes completely no sense. They should have just imported OBJ from Uncharted 2 and 3, right? For those of you that played Uncharted 2 and 3, OBJ was a lot better on those games, right? It's no room for a lot of cheesy stuff. Right, so King of the Hill should have been like a lot like Hardpoint on Call of Duty. For those of you that don't play COD, pretty much Hardpoint is you have to cap hills, but you have to be in the hill, right, to get points, right? And KOTH should have been like that, right? The mode itself is broken. Yeah, like I said before, a team shouldn't gain points for not being in the hill. Makes no sense to me, but it's whatever. But for competitive, I feel like for competitive, staffs probably should have been allowed in KOTH. Because like I said again, it makes no sense for people to reward a team for capping the hill first, but allowing them to run around any side of the map, any part of the map, to stop the team from getting points, right, for being outside of the hill. For competitive, at least the staff would have like shown players, on the radar where they are and stuff like that. I feel like it's a bit more fair, all right. Especially like on broken maps like Remnants, for the spawn, because Remnants has a lot of is known for its poor like hill spawns and stuff like that. So yeah, competitive probably should have allowed staffs, but that's my opinion. If you disagree, just let me know. One thing that during the KOTH days, it's known for is the lack of good teams playing. There wasn't a lot of good teams. It wasn't a lot of good players. It was just you're playing against the same people, right? Let's be honest. Like even during 2017, there wasn't a lot of people even playing ranked. If we're being honest, right? You're just playing against the same people. That's why, like, it just made no sense to me why certain people would carry not even certain people, but even certain teams, right? They would carry this ego where it's like, bro, like, come on, like, you're not playing against good players, right? Like, I don't understand that. It makes no sense to me. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of good teams playing compared to TDM. Again, if you feel different, then just post in the comments and let me know. Another big negative, rank rewards were recycled. And rank specific rewards were given out to everyone, so like the masks, the hats, and so on. They didn't give us anything new. There's nothing to grind for. That's pretty obvious. I don't have to go deep in that. Leaderboards are hacked. Again, when KOTH hit, I didn't really care about the leaderboards, to be honest. But for those that did care for it, they're at a disadvantage because players are just hacking that shit. Again, the same thing happened in Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, The Last of Us. For some reason, people just want to hack the Naughty Dog leaderboards. It makes no sense to me, but whatever. And then the like switchers, there's just too much like switchers on rank KOTH now. Like, if you try to play rank right now, good luck. I mean, you're just gonna run into like switchers. Again, it's easy. I mean, it's not easy, but if you're on a good team, you can beat these like switchers. But like I said, there's not a lot of good people playing, and there's not a lot of good teams, right? So these like switchers, they're having a field day, right? Getting all these like rank points and stuff like that, beating shit teams. Personally, if I were to play ranked rank KOTH against like switchers, I want to play with Panic. I want to play with Citronger. I want to play with Ice. I want to play players like that, because they understand how to play. They know how to use packs. They know what type of boosters to use when going against like switchers. It's just pretty much is like going against light switchers. You got to use your head more than gun skills at that point, right? Because you'll get melted in a second. But that's how I feel. That's the negative, definitely. Positives, there's only two positives for me on KOTH. Emphasis on teamwork and strategy. There's a lot of ranked TDM players that got exposed, right? A lot of teams that got exposed for their weaknesses. They don't know how to work as a team. They don't know how to strategize. Because even though I cited certain negatives for KOTH, I mean, you did need to at least strategize to get to hills. You did need to play smart. And that's definitely a positive. Makes the game more exciting, right? You can't run around like a headless chicken with Jin and Condor. If you're online fire, you're not winning a KOTH match. If you're Kingdom Blade, you're not winning a KOTH match. If you're Fish of the Wisher, just running a straight line, Copperhead C4, you're not winning a match, right? So it kind of like took out certain cheesy players, right, from the community, which I'm thankful for. Less cheesy players, more enjoyable Uncharted is for me. And the game could get pretty intense down to the wire. That's definitely a positive. That's two small positives. There's TDM I had like three positives, but they're strong positives, right? And so yeah, TDM, three big positives for me. Why I would put that over KOTH. Just to repeat myself a little bit. Just more reliant on gun skill, better teams playing, and the grind was worth it, right? There's stuff to play for. Three big positives. Again, if you disagree, let me know. If you agree, let me know. So just appreciate the time and enjoy the Lakaha expose in the end. I just played against him a few days ago. I shit on him. He's trash. Just want to put that out there. So yeah, thanks. Next video will probably be about like the best teams, best players. Just let me know.